The tech sector shed more than 386,000 jobs in 2022 and the first half of 2023. And that number is climbing.
Google today joined a growing list of tech giants scaling back, adding to the tens of thousands of workers in the industry who find themselves unemployed.
It is Amazon doing another round of layoffs.
Mark Zuckerberg's year of efficiency back in focus this morning after another round of sweeping layoffs and job cuts.
The email that was sent out in the morning to everyone at the company basically saying, unfortunately, your role is impacted. And that's how I found out. And then they pretty much shut everything off at the end of the day.
I was on the committee that was hiring new college grads. It was like thousands and thousands of applications for maybe like 10 or 15 spots. But I thought, if we're still hiring new college grads, clearly the company is fine. Why would we hire, new grads if the company were going to do layoffs?
Known for its boom and bust cycles, tech has seen its fair share of layoffs in recent decades. More recently, the industry has faced headwinds related to the crypto crash and the failure of the Silicon Valley Bank.
Job postings for software development positions, they're down closer to 60% year over year. And they are actually below their pre-pandemic levels. So we've seen a much starker pullback in hiring for software development, which is a lot of tech jobs.
But while layoffs have taxed retrenched workers, a booming artificial intelligence market is giving the industry a renewed sense of optimism.
I have been in San Francisco for almost 12 years now, and I have never felt this kind of energy. And I was here for the mobile boom, right? I worked at Uber, which I think was the one company representing that mobile explosion. And I can tell you it was nothing like this. Every cafe, every restaurant, every conversation that you overhear in the street, half of the time it's ChatGPT, it's AI, it's the latest company that is being funded, it's accelerating.
Generative AI startup deals announced or finalized in the first quarter of 2023 totaled more than $12 billion, compared with about $4.5 billion invested in the space in 2022. Amazon, Alphabet, and Microsoft have also made massive investments. The U.S. tech industry accounts for 10% of the nation's GDP. It employs roughly 12 million people who work in more than 500,000 companies. Those businesses are concentrated in a handful of coastal areas, including San Jose, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, Boston, and New York City. So how have layoffs impacted tech workers? And what will the AI boom mean for their future? The pandemic and ensuing lockdowns brought the U.S. economy into a tailspin in March 2020, forcing businesses to shut their doors. By May, 23 million Americans lost their jobs. The unemployment rate surged to 14.7%, the highest since the Great Depression. But tech companies faced a different climate. Remote work and cloud computing meant more people were pivoting towards online services, boosting revenue. Spurred on by rosy predictions and lower interest rates, Microsoft, Amazon, Salesforce, Facebook parent Meta, and Google parent Alphabet went on a hiring spree. Meta had about 72,000 employees at the end of 2021, more than 60% higher than 2019. Alphabet had more than 190,000 on staff at the end of 2022, 59% higher than 2019. But after years of unstoppable growth, big tech's pandemic bubble burst, forcing tech companies to trim their rosters.
I want to say, up front, that I take full responsibility for this decision. I'm the founder and CEO. I'm responsible for the health of our company.
Meta was a company I've always wanted to work at. Dream job, a dream company for sure.
Carl Wheatley, a recruiter for Meta, grew up in the Bay Area and spent 4 years working for the social media giant. Meta laid off more than 11,000 workers, or about 13% of its workforce, in November 2022. It announced a few months later it was reducing its headcount by another 10,000 employees.
I was talking to my family about it. They grew up in the Bay Area. They've been through multiple layoffs over the past, and I think for our age group, I would say this is probably one of the, biggest downtrends or for layoffs.
Other companies quickly followed suit.
If you want to think about a company that overbuilt during the pandemic, I'd say that Amazon is the #1 company that overbuilt. Where are the cuts?
Amazon announced in January 2023 that 18,000 workers were being laid off. 2 months later, it said an additional 9,000 positions would be trimmed. That same month, Alphabet cut 12,000 jobs, or about 6% of its workforce.
I thought, holy crap, I finally made it. I'm working at probably one of the best companies in the world, and I'm making an amazing salary, and I have longevity. Like, I am good for many, 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 many years.
Paul Baker, a video producer in tech, worked at Google for 6 years.
We all got this email early in the morning on January 20th. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. I actually froze going, wait, is this for real? I opened my work laptop and it says, no, access denied, like no passwords are working. So I had to look at my personal laptop, which had an email from them stating, hey, you've been officially terminated. We're giving you 2 months notice, but like you're cut off. You are banned from going to any Google office. You cannot contact anyone, like nothing.
Company leadership was in a far different position. Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai's 2022 compensation, for example, was worth $225 million, about 800 times the pay of the median employee. The company's stock has continued to climb since the announcement. Other companies in the space that made cuts to their workforce include Microsoft, Salesforce, and SAP. While tech layoffs have been painful, the blow has been cushioned in many cases by generous severance packages. Recently laid off Google employees in the U.S. received 16 weeks of pay, plus 2 weeks for every year of employment. Salesforce employees received a minimum of nearly 5 months of pay. Stephen Campbell, a software engineer, was laid off from Airtable, a cloud-based project management service, in December 2022.
One night, I stayed up especially late and woke up to a bunch of Slack messages saying, are you safe? Are you okay? And I thought, like, was there an earthquake in SF? Like, what's going on? Obviously, I'm safe. I feel fine. And as I woke up a little more, I thought, oh no, like I know what this is. And so I opened up my work laptop and I got a notification saying your access to this laptop will end in 30 minutes.
With help from his severance package, Campbell co-founded 2 new businesses. Revamp AI uses machine learning and generative AI to get insights into customer data sets. His other business hosts in-person events to discuss the future of generative AI.
The thing about generative AI in San Francisco right now is that there's similar buzz to crypto, right? There's all these meetups, which I'm fortunate to throw some of them. There's all of this venture investment going into it. I mean, absurd amounts of money is getting funneled into generative AI startups. The difference for me between generative AI and something like crypto is generative AI is solving problems for people today. It's delivering value for people today.
San Francisco has 11 out of 20 of the top AI companies in the U.S. by dollars raised. Collectively, those businesses took in $15.7 billion between 2008 and 2023. Investments in automation and AI at big tech companies could be a contributing factor in recent layoffs. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg told employees prior to its third round of layoffs that investments in tools like AI would help engineers write better code faster and automate workloads. Flo Crivolo founded Lindy in 2022. The company's AI personal assistant helps automate tasks for workers, like drafting emails, sending calendar invites, and taking notes during meetings.
Something absolutely huge is coming. And I don't think people have quite realized that yet, that everything is about to change, especially the information economy and knowledge workers. Steve Jobs said that computers were like a bicycle for the mind. I think that AI is like a jumbo jet for the mind. I think it is going to radically change how people work and go about their lives.
Generative AI could add as much as $2.6 to $4.4 trillion to the global economy annually.
I think counterintuitively, it is actually going to result in a net increase in employment in the tech industry. It's a basic fact of economics that when something becomes cheaper, its complement becomes more valuable. Tech workers are a complement to AI. AI makes tech workers a lot more productive. And so when something becomes a lot more productive and a lot more valuable, we want more of it, not less.
I don't know if I necessarily would want to say that I don't regret getting laid off sooner, but getting laid off was such an overall positive experience to me. Really, the only downside to it was the initial shock. That was tough to deal with.
While layoffs are having a big impact on tech companies, the sector is accustomed to periods of growth and contraction.
Tech has always been an industry with very high churn, and that actually comes from both sides. So job seekers have always really valued the flexibility that they have in order to jump from tech company to startup to major company to really grow their career. And at the same time, tech, because it's often at the forefront, has been a subject to big booms and busts.
The bursting of the dot-com bubble 2 decades earlier eliminated more than 1 million jobs. The Great Recession spurred additional cuts. By 2008, Silicon Valley tech companies employed 17% fewer workers than in 2001. But there are a few key differences this time around. Even though 2/3 of tech workers are men, more than half of those laid off in 2022 and 2023 were women. According to a study analyzing more than 1,100 LinkedIn profiles, the groups most heavily impacted by layoffs include HR and talent sourcing, software engineers, and marketing employees. Bianca Brown started with Meta in 2019. She was laid off from her job as a program manager in 2023.
I tried to sleep the night before, I couldn't. And then maybe it was around the 8 a.m. mark, I got the email. My heart kind of dropped. I took a deep breath and I was like, okay, this is your new reality. This is something you have to navigate.
The study also found 48% of laid-off employees were between 30 to 40 years old, 89% were based in the U.S., and the average employee had about 12 years of work experience. And while the number of U.S. tech jobs are projected to slightly lag the longer-term trend, the demand for tech workers should remain high for the foreseeable future. The unemployment rate for tech workers as of May 2023 was 2%, well below the national figure of 3.7%. While tech companies shed a modest 4,700 jobs that month, over the course of the entire year, a significant number of jobs were added in IT services, cloud infrastructure, data processing and hosting, and tech manufacturing. Employment opportunities for software developers is predicted to grow by 26% between 2021 and 2031.
It is a cooler job market for tech workers than it was maybe a year or two ago, but at the same time, a lot of these skills and experiences from the tech sector are still in high demand. Oftentimes, these tech skills and this experience from the tech industry is very valuable in other parts of the economy as well.
Tech workers are also finding jobs in other industries desperate for their skill set, ranging from financial services and manufacturing to the government. Nationwide, tech workers earn on average $87,000 annually, 60% more than the average U.S. salary of $54,000. California tech workers average about $117,000 a year. Despite those trends, competition for jobs remains fierce as unemployed workers face a restless job market.
So I've already applied to probably about 165 jobs, and I've had only 2 interviews, and both were first interviews after the recruiter, and they ghosted me. Didn't respond to my emails, nothing. So we're also living in a time where people just don't get back to you.
But if you go on LinkedIn, there's so many recruiters and designers, engineers, everyone pretty much looking for jobs, right? There's hundreds or thousands of people applying for the same role. I just tell everyone kind of put your sales cap on, get a tool where you can find emails, and you kind of have to go out there and kind of find your own job.